Hi guys! I wanted to bring you a little tip video on one of the new mechanics that was added with the Siege of the Atlas expansion. The new influence monster types are obscenely good. They can give you so many different things. You can get, primarily, you can get stacks and stacks of scarabs out of them. That is how, even only being 3 or 4 days into the league, I have a stash that looks like it's multiple weeks into the league as far as my Scarab collection is concerned, because I usually don't do a ton of gen missions and I usually don't focus on Scarabs too hard, but even just incidentally farming the new influence monsters, I've been getting tons of these. And I'll break down exactly the different strategies that I use and how to optimize farming these monsters. Because you could, if you wanted to, and there's nothing wrong with just like Alkin going and not really putting a lot of thought into it, and you'll still get plenty of rewards from them. They are simply that rewarding. But if you optimize some parts of your Atlas passive tree, as well as the investments that you're making in your map, you can get a lot more value out of it. So first off, the investment into either of these two wheels, you're definitely going to want to pick up all of the pack size nodes, these small ones, even the ones that are floating over here. I need to get one more map completion to finish it off, but all of these 5% increased pack size are very important. Because it's just going to snowball all of the other investments. You're getting all of your scarabs and all of your really valuable rewards, things like Eldritch currencies and all that, from specifically the influence monsters, so you want to get as many of them as possible out of your content. The big note here is actually not even all that important on either one of these, in my opinion. If it just said 10% increased pack size, I'd be more excited to click it. You just really want the pack size out of these small wheels. And then whichever one you're going for, be it Exarch or Endless Hunger, you need to get the one that increases the frequency of altars. Now, Shadow of Hunger is a stronger notable, in my opinion, than Light of Dawn, as Light of Dawn will give you a higher chance for the altars to be at the start of your map, which is where you want them, because then the way that the altars work, in case you're unfamiliar, is when you kill an influenced monster, it has a small chance to generate an altar to whatever Eldritch entity it belongs to. So an altar to the Exarch or an altar to the Eater of Worlds, and that altar will offer you two choices. One of those choices is usually going to be related to the map boss, and we'll get to that later, and one of them is going to be related to the Eldritch minions. You'll get a downside of some sort, which can be anything from, Eldritch minions create very dangerous burning ground on death, or players have minus 5,000 armor, or Eldritch minions have plus 50 cold and fire res, and then you get an upside, and the upsides are where the money is at, because the upside can be Eldritch minions have a chance to drop a scarab, or map boss drops 3 additional scarabs, or Eldritch minions have a chance to drop, or increased chance to drop influenced currency items, and that's what we're trying to get. We're trying to get as many altars as possible, both for those rewards and for the fact that when you complete an altar, you choose whichever option, you're going to spawn 3 more packs of influence monsters that all can drop more scarabs and more rewards and stuff. So more altars means more minions, which means it just snowballs even further. Though the minions summoned by an altar cannot themselves create altars. That would be a little too busted. But yeah, the reason why Light of Dawn is a bit worse than Shadow of Hunger, in my opinion, is because while it is nice to get the altars at the start of a map, more altars overall is just more consistent, as this just gives you 50% more altars across all the maps you're running. And this also comes with a downside of players take 10% increased damage for each altar used in the area, and when you're doing this strategy, you're trying to stack like 6, 7, 8 altars used in a single map. The reason I'm actually invested in these nodes is because the Searing Exarch currency is what I currently need to upgrade some pieces of gear on my build, so I'm taking the slightly less optimal route so that I can not have to trade with people for what I want, because I value not having to trade with people as much. But if you're trying to completely optimize, you're gonna want the blue monsters. You're gonna want this half of the tree. So yeah, that covers it for the Atlas tree, which, probably most people could have defined that themselves, but it was worth covering the basics. Now, as far as the actual behavior for how these monsters spawn in, they act sort of like old Baron monsters. Baron monsters were keyed in on certain packs of mobs, so unlike, say, Drox or Alhazmeen monsters, which basically were scattered throughout the map and just revealed themselves when you walked near them, Baron monsters would spawn in when other monsters spawned in. So you could have more Baron influence monsters in your map by squeezing your map full of more of what I call static monster spawns. And I'll explain what that means. Say I pop an Abyss or I pop a Legion. That's obviously going to add a whole bunch of extra monsters to my map, but they're kind of instanced to that League mechanic, and the influence monsters don't latch onto those. So Legion mobs, not going to spawn you any more influence monsters. Abyss monsters, not going to spawn you any more influence monsters. However, monsters that are pre-generated with the map, that get added in, and even if I'm 2 screens away, they're there. So I don't have to go click the Legion to spawn them. They are considered spawned. When I walk up to them, influence monsters will spawn in. Examples of that are things like shrines, things like rituals to some degree, because rituals, they have that pack of mobs around them that you have to initially kill. That's going to spawn in some influence monsters. Sextants that say they add packs of monsters, so sextants that add things like hunted traders or extra fire monsters or extra lightning monsters, those are really useful. The more of those mechanics you can shove into your map, the more influence monsters you're going to get, because they're all going to spawn codependent with those existing packs of monsters. So if you have 3 or 4 shrines in your map, you're going to get an extra dozen or 24 packs of influence monsters. If you have 4 ritual altars in your maps, you're going to get another 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 packs of influence monsters. And that can get really goddamn insane when you stack up a whole bunch of altars. Not to mention, it gives you more altars as well, because you get the altars by killing the influence monsters in the first place. So if you're trying to really go hard into influence mobs, be sure to roll sextants for extra packs of monsters, or at least keep those rolls whenever you hit them. Maybe don't roll over the other really good ones. And I would suggest picking up the shrine nodes on your Atlas tree, maybe even running domination on the map device, and you have the ritual nodes on your tree as well to give you extra chances for rituals, because you can get a nutty amount of influence monsters out of a single map doing that. The last few things that I would suggest, you don't need to, but if you can get your hands on a few Watchstones. I actually don't have my 3rd Watchstone yet, so I'm not employing this strategy, but once you get to your 3rd Watchstone, you can make City Square into a T14. Which makes it eligible for influence. And the reason why that is so good, and there's other maps that would work as well for this, but City Square is really, really solid. Mesa would be another good option, and some people may already see where I'm going with this. The reason why that is so good is because you can rush the boss straight out the gate. You kill maybe 2 packs on the way to the boss in Mesa or City Square. And if you kill the boss, the altars will no longer offer you boss-specific rewards, which is great, because the boss-specific rewards are generally much worse than the ones that you get from packs, just because you can't leverage them as much, You kill 20, 30, 40 influence packs in a map, you're going to get a lot more rewards than just killing the boss once and getting its 3 scarabs, which isn't a bad reward, but compared to the 40 scarabs you could get if you manage to, line everything up right in the perfect map and kill a ton of influence mobs, is much worse. So you're going to manipulate the altars to give you better rewards and give you more consistency if you can rush down that boss immediately. So the next big goal for me as far as trying to leverage the strategy is to get that 3rd Watchstone so that City Square can be my T14 and I can, leverage the altars even better and manipulate them even further. There are some maps that are, even with only 1 or 2 Watchstones, relatively easy to reach the boss and then clear the rest. You could beeline to the boss in Dunes. It's not awful. You could do half the map in a Belfry, kill the boss, then the other half, but none of them really line up to how good City Square or Mesa are. And City Square, you only need 3 Watchstones to get influence eligible, whereas Mesa, all the way down here, I think you need all 4 Watchstones before it's eligible for influence. And in my opinion, it's kind of a worse map than City Square anyway, but that's subjective. Anyways, that was all the tips I had for really making the most out of your influence packs. Hopefully you found some of this information useful or interesting. And if you did, consider subscribing here in the channel or coming to follow me over on Twitch. The link will be in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.